and this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming change for the time we have spent in your presence.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Leonora Reynolds Jones, and I have the awesome privilege of being the proprietress of a wonderful kingdom enterprise called Legacy Builders. We do lots of really, really cool things. I won't go into details and tell you all the things. I'll just tell you, how do I do it? You follow that link right here and you can go there and learn more about our business and about what we do and about the things we are passionate about. That moment is not this one. So I decided I'm going to stop giving you a long spiel about my company because that's not why I'm here. I am here because whether or not the company runs, I am a legacy builder. It is my job. It is my privilege to provide you with information that will help you change what it means to carry your last name. And what I realized is the most important piece of information, the best introduction I can give you is one with us to have a saving relationship with Jesus. You want to change your life? You want to change your last name? You want to change your legacy? Meet Jesus. And so I have committed, along with my husband, to just create spaces where people can do just that, meet Jesus. And that is why we are here today. That is why we are live right now, because I got some midday manna for you. And you're like, sis, what's that? I am so glad you asked. Midday manna started back in, you guessed it, right? Like 2020. And really what happened is I would get downloads, revelations, information, prophetic insight as you would from God. And I would get those semi infrequently. And then God started becoming more frequent. And then he started like, okay, we need to be more consistent. And I started praying and I asked God to make me consistent. And what he did was he gave me a responsibility. The responsibility was this: he wanted me to go live on Wednesdays at noon and tell the people what he told me. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Then pandemic hit, everything shut down, everybody's live, and then he was like, now they don't just need for you to tell them what I said, they need you to pray for them. And so then he added Fridays at noon, where he was like, I need you to go on and pray. Now I keep waiting for him to add another day of the week. He has not, bless God. But what he has done is expanded what I am supposed to do. So more about that in the later dates, but just know that he is expanding what he has called me to be consistent with and consistent about. Now, that's how we got here, because he was like, go live on Wednesdays. And then in the last, I'm going to say month, what God has done is he's even changed that command. Right? Because if you're like me, many of you have begun to get this unction, this tug, this pull, this direction that it's time to pivot. It's time for a transition. He's telling you there's something more. You're looking around at your life and you're looking for the things that he said would be present in your life. And some of it is present, some of it's not. And for some of us, the thing that's not present is like a big thing. And it's not that you aren't absolutely happy. It's not that you aren't absolutely grateful, but it is that you're like, God, there's still this longing in my heart for this thing that you said that I could have. And I want to just stop for 30 seconds right there and talk about that idea of longing, because sometimes And I'm pretty sure it was Marshawn Evans Daniels that I heard say this, and it has stuck with me since I heard her say this. But some, or maybe God told me and then she confirmed it, right? Because I honestly don't know, because I had been saying that before I heard her say it. So when I heard her say it, I was like, oh God, you told her too. But here's what God had told me and told her, and something that we say frequently, and it is this: God will give you the desires of your heart. But that's not a single interpretation. So often we feel like, oh, God, I want this Lexus ES350, and you're praying and you're fasting and you're calling down all heaven and you're doing the world because you want God to give you this thing that you think you desire. What I stopped by to tell you is, what if God gave you the desire for it, in terms of He put this longing in your heart for this car. He gave you the desires of your heart because He knew that putting this longing in your heart would lead you on a journey that would draw you closer to Him. So God gave you the desire of your heart so that He could give you the desire of your heart. And here's the beauty of that journey. Somewhere along the way, the desire of your heart changes. When the journey is done right, when you're paying attention, when you're focused on God, when you are seeking after this desire, especially, and I'm going to change that word, only when, because I don't believe that the enemy is out here giving you desires of your heart that's going to lead you to God. So I'm going to actually change it and say, that the desire was given to you by God if it leads you closer to Him. Like, I don't have a better explanation than that to tell you, but I want you to start thinking about the things that you are longing for, the things that you're still waiting for. And you probably know, like, if you grew up in church or you've been around church people long enough, they talk about you just have to wait and you have to push, and that's pray until something happens, and they tell you all of this, and then they tell you have to tarry. And I'm not saying that any of these things aren't true. But what I am saying is, as you're doing all of this, as you're waiting, where are you running to? Are you consistently going back to God? And does this thing have you at the place where you're like, and this is where they really start telling you and sound real churchy. They're like, God, if it's not for me, just remove this longing from my heart. You ever prayed that? You ever said that? Like, you heard somebody say that, like, oh, if I don't want this, just remove this longing from my heart. And it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't. And you still, every time you see Alexis, and you're not coveting or operating in envy, where you don't want that person, the one that you see, you want the one that God promised you. And so every car that looks similar, you peeping like, oh, is that the one, like the one that God's gonna give me? And you don't want theirs. You're happy that they have theirs, right? And notice what I'm saying. I'm saying you are happy that they have theirs. You don't want theirs. You want the one God's gonna give you. And that longing continues to drive you back to God. And when you go back to God, He shows you this little thing. He's like, you see here where you ain't got no savings, or you spend money frivolously, or you sowing seeds in bad ground just because somebody said this is the atmosphere. You out here sowing and ain't nobody, I never told you to sow. Let me get off your toes, get off my toes. Let's reel it back in. But I'm saying, like, God put this desire. It's not going anywhere. And the only place you can go back to is Him. Like, you keep going back to Him about it. And every time you show up in His place and in His presence, He shows you yourself, and you go away and you fix something else, and then you come back again. I just want you to know, God gives you the desire of your heart so that He can give you the desire of your heart. So I'm telling you about this whole God gives you the desire of your heart story, right? Because I'm going somewhere. Hey, what do we do, Jesus? What do we do? Um, so I'm glad you're tuned in, Shanika. And so we're talking about like God gave you this desire in your heart, and so that He can give you the desire of your heart. And I'm telling you that, we go and we have these desires, and we work through and we're processing these things, and you get to the place, and God has been good. So it's not just the thing that you're longing for; it's also you see Him; He's moved. And I was telling you about that because pretty much in my own life, I think I told you, and this was not last week, but week before last week, where I told you about this idea, this place that I had arrived at, where I was absolutely grateful and absolutely frustrated. This thing is doing the most. It said it lost access to my Facebook.
It's not the Wi-Fi, is it?
No. It literally just locked.
So can't get back in?
I don't know yet. It literally kicked me off in the middle. Don't
So
see.
you check your Wi-Fi signal?
Yeah, it's got wire. That's not the problem. All right.
Face all in there. Face all in the ceiling.
That's fine. It's still broadcast. We're gonna just go with it, guys. Sorry, it kicked me out. I'm live on YouTube, and we're just gonna go with it. Sorry for all the technical difficulties and in the middle of everything. Yeah, Facebook literally hopped in, kicked me out, said my account had been hacked while I was live, guys. So everything pretty much just went. But we're gonna go back with it. Yeah, it's doing its thing. Hi, Facebook, if you are here. Welcome if you are here. Pretty much what happened is pretty much somebody hacked my Facebook account while I was live. So Facebook immediately notified me. Everything got shut down, kicked out, whatever. We are going to continue with this here live. Okay. Forgive the 5-minute pause and delay, but we're going to continue. Anyway, so I was talking about this idea of, God giving you the desires of your heart, right? And how I had gotten to the place where I was absolutely grateful and absolutely frustrated because I had been waiting for something that God had showed me, that God had promised me. And I felt like I have seen God do amazing things. And I've told you some of these amazing things. And in the meantime, there's this other thing that's just no traction. And I'm like, really, Jesus? Like, it's gonna be like this forever and ever. And so I was like, I'm not gonna stay here. I'm not gonna continue to do this. And so but what he also showed me, and this is just a quick recap so I can get you up to today, right? What he did show me was that a part of the problem was that I was stuck in a cycle, that every year around the end of April or so, coming into the beginning of May, I started making decisions that would affect my rest of my year. Last year, that looked like I got in my feelings, looked at some stuff, and decided I was going to do what? Get me a job. By the end of last year, I had quit the same job because it didn't work out and it conflicted with what I believe God had called me to do. And so it was just like, I can't go back and do the same thing I did last year. In the middle of the examination period, he showed me that I had done the same thing the year before and probably several years running, where every time around April, May, your girl starts getting real introspective, starts looking, starts tracking, and I go do something. And so this year, I decided to do the absolute opposite of what I've always done. This year, I decided I'm going to sit down and shut up. Truly. Like, I went before God and I was like, God, this is where I am. This is what I'm mad about. This is where I'm frustrated. This is where I don't see it. But I'm coming back to you and I'm not doing anything unless you tell me. Guys, he ran me ragged. Y'all hear me? Like, I literally started asking questions. He was like, nope, be still. Nope, be quiet. Nope, 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 nope. And so it got to the place where even things that I had heard God tell me to do, I stopped doing them because, like, it's a moment by moment dependence, because I have gotten so not far off course, but I no longer take for granted that what God said last week applies today. And I think, and I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying like you shouldn't hold on to the revelation and steward it well and do, but I think that personally for Lenore, and I'm just sharing this with you because it might work for you, that the key to your success in the next season is predicated on your dependence in this one. How much are you willing to surrender? How much are you willing to talk to God? How much are you willing to get his opinion about it? How much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice? How much of your pride, your everything, are you willing to give up on some, oh, God told me to do this? So I was frustrated and I came and I went in and I did the live because Jesus told me to. And I told y'all about that. And then last week I went back again and I was like, am I still supposed to be live? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, well, what am I going to talk to about this week? And then y'all were live when we talked about those lessons from the plumber, guys. We talked about that. And that was nothing but a Holy Ghost Jesus time. Like, I can't take credit for anything that happened. Y'all know I was just as surprised as you are by the things that were coming out of my mouth. So we got to that. And then we arrive here at today. And I'm going to tell y'all what happened to me. God started dealing with me about my pride. And I'm just honest, okay? Like, I can't give you a better intro than the one I've given you. And I'm catching you up so that you understand. So that you understand where I'm going. It's good. In the next couple, I think, because I think it's going to be a little series, and our series is called, and if you can see the caption, let me type it in here so that you can see our caption and our theme for the next few. I don't know how long, guys. I don't know how long, but it's going to be as long as God gives it. This is our caption. This is our theme. It's counterfeit or counterfaith. That's our theme for the next couple months. And so this is actually turning into our introduction to counterfeit. So I'm going to tell you my testimony. which will give you a good understanding. And then we're going to unpack the whole thing in the coming days. So here's what happened. For me, most often when God starts dealing with me about my pride, he deals with me about not asking for help. Because I am smart, because I am, I'm gifted in terms of systems, because I am a researcher at heart, because I love words, because, add all the things. I am very much self-dependent, self-sufficient. I can figure it out. I got this. And so I will quicker go Google and research than reach out to so-and-so who I knows how to do it and ask them. Your girl's gonna go to YouTube University. She's gonna Google it. She's gonna play with it. If it's IT and software, I'm gonna do all the things, guys, before I ask for help. If I'm coming to you for help, know that I have exhausted every single possible variable and permutation of doing it myself, and I have no choice but to ask you for help. Here's the problem. I apply that same principle to God. I do it with people, but I do it with God too. And God was like, that's pride. That's pride. Number one, you are perpetuating a reality that isn't true. You're not perfect. And you said at the beginning of the year, you let go of being perfect. So not being perfect and letting go of perfect, it now also means asking for help when it's needed. And ask for help first, because you know what? You shorten the time between where you need to be, and because you spent all this time researching versus asking for help. And again, many times I know the person that I can reach out and ask, but I just don't want to. Part of that, honestly, is that I'm very contrary. Look, y'all are learning lots of things about me today. I'm very contrary. If you tell me go left, I'm going right just on GP. Like, why are you telling me to go left? I don't like left. Right looks better today. That is me, okay? That is me. And so I just don't. But God's like, you got to deal with that. You got to deal with that, because this next season, you're going to need people. You're going to need help, and you're going to have to ask for it. All right. More than that, again, remember I said my success is going to be predicated on what? My dependence to God. So God is also like, you can't run to me as a backup after all of your plans have failed. I don't know which one of y'all I'm talking to, and I might just be talking to myself right now, and it's okay, because I'm doing exactly what he told me to do today. Go live and talk about this idea, that idea right there, this one right here of counterfeit, right? And so I'm like, all right, God, all right. So I can't make you my backup after all my plans have failed. You have to be the plan, and you have to be all the backups. So we get here, and God is like, deal with your pride, start asking for help. Guys, there is something that I legit walked away from in pride. Like, oh, that's not for me. That's not going to work. Jesus is like, oh, okay. He let me have it. It's been a couple of months, and I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not dealing with that no more. That's not my story. If you've talked to me, I'll tell you it's not my circus. Those are not my monkeys. Like, I'll tell you whatever. And I kept it moving. And literally this past week, God was like, okay, so now that you know that your pride has become an issue, let me show you Exhibit A. Here's Exhibit A of where you have walked away from a door I opened. Y'all remember we wrapped up May Declarations Challenge. Today is the last day of May, and we've been talking about, may I walk through every door you open in this season and be at peace with the ones you close. That's one of our declarations, and I've been saying that for the last 30 days. And he was like, okay, now you let me show you one that you walked away from, and I had opened this door. And you walked away because you had pride in yourself and in your skill set and in your abilities and in everything but me. And that leads us to this idea of that idea. Ooh, how do you get there? That idea of counterfeit. And y'all see how I spell that? Counterfeit faith. Because what God showed me is that pride is an imitation of faith. Pride is placing your faith in anything but God. Think about it. When you have pride, so we're going to start. Because let's go back to the beginning. Back to the beginning. Like rewind the tape. Back coming down to the end of 2019, moving into 2020. I told you there was a series of words that God had given me, and he redefined my focus and the definition for me. One of those words, and I've shared all the words, but the word that keeps coming up over and over, and the one we talk most often about is faith. Excuse me. And so faith is believing, it is trusting, right? And that is not incorrect. Hear me. If you think faith is belief, you're not wrong. If you think faith is trust, you're not wrong. But here's what you missed if you only take those two. Faith is also about confidence. Things you have faith in, you have confidence about. I got faith in my car. I am confident that every time I jump in that joint, because I put gas in it, because I get it serviced, because that's what it was created to do, because of the manufacturer, I have faith. And how do you know I have faith? Because I hop in that joint. I'm lucky right now. My car is pushed to start. I put my foot on the brakes. I push the button, and I have faith that reaction that's supposed to happen in the engine is going to happen, and I don't even think about it. I hop in the car, I push the button, and I'm already getting ready to put that joint in drive, because I have absolute confidence in what the manufacturer and in their guarantees and in the fact that I took care of the car and all this other stuff. But I have confidence in that joint, and so it costs nothing for me to get in that car and drive. Now, let's talk about our pride. How, right? Because I have confidence in that car, and God will tell me do X, Y, Z. And pride has me putting more confidence, more faith in my car than I will on, well, maybe I'm not even sure that this is what God told me, but on the off chance that this was God, I'm going to what? Walk confidently forward. You don't have a faith problem in the traditional sense. You have a confidence problem, because you have nothing upon which to build your confidence in God. You may have grown up in the church. You may have grown up around church people. You may have been, talking and praying, but you still have no confidence in God. And in fact, the pride issue is that you have more confidence in yourself than you do in God. Because you might be like me. You're smart, you're gifted, you're intelligent, you're talented, you're multidimensional. You know yourself, you're amazing. God gave you amazing people. You have great spouses, you have wonderful kids, you have an amazing network. Let's run the list. You're doing good for yourself. You got that good job, you got them degrees, you have confidence in all of those things. I.e., you have pride in your accomplishments and pride in those things, and you have none of that in God. We're going to talk over the next several weeks about counterfeit, counterfaith. And what I want you to do, guys, I'm wrapping it up. I'm telling you, because y'all know I only do this for about 30 minutes. I think after 30 minutes, I have wearied the saints, and I'm not that person. So, and if I'm not going to pay attention past this, I'm certainly not dragging it out for you. But as we go through this week, and I want you to start thinking, how you logging off, Jarvis? How you just going to log off? Really? Like y'all, he's watching and he's gonna tell me he's logging off, probably because I said something. But you have pride. You have pride in it's a spiritual whooping, really. Spiritual whooping, that's what you're gonna put. But this is what we're gonna be dealing with: counterfeit faith, which is pride. We're going to talk about this idea of how we have confidence in everything else but God. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to expand on this idea of faith being confidence. I'm going to expand on how to build faith. Look, y'all, let me show y'all. When I tell y'all God gave me a bunch of stuff about this, y'all thought I'm joking. You can't, I'm holding up my phone right now, but you can see this. This is notes. Look at that. All of that is notes. And literally, the only thing I said was about here. We got about here in this whole broadcast. We only got through like these couple sentences. And it's the idea that faith is about confidence. And so, but what I want you to think about between now and next week, get your pen, your paper, got your notes ready, because I want you to start thinking about, where have I put my confidence? Where are the areas you have put your confidence? Where are the places in your life that you have an opportunity to trust God and you have chosen to trust something else? Where is the places and spaces in your life where you believe everything but what God told you? You even believe in your own abilities. So you're like, if I do this, and this, I can make this thing that God told me happen. When did God ever tell you he needed your help? Last I checked, he was creator. We talked about that last week. Like, you can't fix you because you didn't make you. And so if you can't fix you because you didn't make you, why do you think you can accomplish the things he has told you in your own strength? Especially when he promised, right? Guys, because he promised like that he would send us what? Himself, the Holy Spirit, to do what? Live in us, to do what? To will and to do for his good pleasure. Like, let's track with that. Pride is like, it is valueless. Listen, come on. Come on, Sharice. They only put their confidence in things that they can touch, see, or feel. Listen, and I'm telling you, I get it. I understand it. But I'm telling you, it is a poor substitute, because, and I'm going to jump ahead for 30 seconds and leave y'all here. The Bible says in Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it is impossible to please God, right? Without faith, it's impossible to please God. I say that same verse a different way. My way of saying it is, faith is the currency of heaven, because faith is how you're going to get stuff out of heaven. If we track along that idea, right, that faith is the currency of heaven and pride is counterfeit faith, could it be the reason that you don't have what God has promised you is that what you've been trying to use to get it ain't real? You put your pride in the wrong place, guys. I want you guys. And so now I'm going to reverse engineer this and ask you guys to do something. So if you like what we're talking about, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. Like this broadcast. Share this broadcast with somebody. Tell them that your girl is about to do a series. We about to talk about counterfeits. We're about to talk about counterfeits, and it's gonna be amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so I thank you for joining me. I hope this so far that you've been blessed. I hope you have some because manna, right? Midday manna, it's called manna because it's provision for your season. Manna is food. And so I hope that you have something to chew on for the rest of this day, maybe for the next couple days. You start mulling over, start looking at yourself, go before God, ask him to show you where you've been operating in pride. He sure did show me, and I felt raggedy, and I had to eat humble pie. I had to apologize. I had to ask for stuff back. Man, when and in the middle of all of that, I was like, God, thank you so much for your grace. Because I see how raggedy I was. And I don't know that I would have had as much grace that you have shown me as if I were the person. So I took my whooping. I took it. And I was grateful for it. And I'm grateful that God is my dad and I am not, and none of y'all are either. Only God can judge me. Ain't that what the song say? All right. So with that, I'm going to tell you thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for joining me for today's edition of Midday Manna. I pray that your latter, that is the latter half of your day, is greater than the beginning. Bye-bye.
What our trust and this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming changed for the time we have spent in your presence.